Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
You have compute like say Lambda, Batch, and whatnot. You have lots of services. But to communicate with these services, you yourself create users, right? You create users and then you log in and then you use these services. But think of that, there can be a possibility that where these services like EC2 wants to talk to ground station, or EC2 wants to communicate to S3, okay, or Lambda wants to communicate to S3. How this service to service communication will go, okay? So to service communication, we need roles. Simple. Okay, so if your services of AWS wants to communicate with each other, they need role. And that's what Jayanti explained, that if we have an AWS application, an application developer is going to put something on S3. The application is running on EC2. And if application wants to put something on S3 and the application is running on EC2. So that means there is a communication needs to talk, like there must be a role needs to be there, which EC2 can communicate to S3, and that role needs a permission to upload something on S3. Does this make sense? Right, so you have services, and all your services wants, if they wants to communicate with the other services in AWS, we use roles as a medium of communicator. Okay, it's very simple to create a role. You have many roles over here. It's very simple to create a role, and in the role, after a creation or during a creation, we attach policy. So policy can be attached to users, policy can be attached to roles. Okay, whatever permissions you have attached in a policy will be given to a role. Whoever have a permission to assume the role will be able to perform the action. For example, let's say if EC2 wants to communicate with S3, okay, if EC2 wants to communicate with S3, then how we create a role for that? We'll click on create role, and then over here we'll select the service which wants to communicate with what. So this is a first endpoint. EC2 wants to communicate. Okay, next we'll go permission, and then there is an option of creating policy. If you have the policy already available, you will select the policy. We'll wait for a period of time. Let's say, okay, all the policies are here. Again, the policies are, type is going to be similar. Type is not going to change. So whatever the root is going to be same. Okay, so your policy is going to be similar. Okay, and role are very important, guys. It plays a very important role. Role are very important. Plays a very important role. Yeah, so roles basically needs to be secure enough, because whatever policy you will attach with that role will perform the actions. Okay, so over here we have to attach a policy. So as, let's say S3, or we have, all right, it created Sony, this one policy I wanted to attach. Next, tags are again optional, but I want to keep it for every time, so I would say org is Sony. Okay, and then next, review. You can write your role name. You can write it as Sony day one role one. Okay, so what happens, all EC2 instances will be allowed to call AWS services on your behalf. Do you see that? So all EC2 instances will be allowed to call AWS services on your behalf. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Create role. So the time when we create a role, we saw that whenever we create a role, so we have that role over here, and this particular role have a on the top, it's a unique identity called ARN, AWS resource number. Okay, so it's on the top, ARN, and then you have a instance profile, you have ARN, and so on. So if you see, there's an option called trust relationship, which is a very important term, and we'll talk about that. So if you see the trust relationship, you see that in a trust relation, there is an identity called EC2. This trust relation identity says that this particular role can be assumed. Okay, work on my words. This particular role can be assumed by EC2. That means this particular role, if it attached to EC2, EC2 will be able to communicate with all the services which you see over here. This particular role will be able to, if it's attached to EC2, we have to attach that role to the EC2, and that particular EC2 will be able to perform all the actions. Sorry, this particular role will be able to communicate with all the services. Communication is one thing, but what actions this role can perform, that will be always defined in a policy. So this is a policy which is attached, which actually defines what actions this particular role can take in. Okay, so it can communicate with any, so EC2 can communicate with any services, but what actions will be performed will be always like defined inside a policy which is attached to a role. Okay, trust relationship is a very important factor over here. For example, if I have to, I have an account over here which is X account, and Kanan has a second account Kanan is an owner of second account who has an account called Y account. And if Kanan wants to cross access, or Kanan wants to communicate with my services, like Kanan wants to communicate with, or Kanan wants to upload the application data on S3 bucket, okay, of my account. Okay, so we have a different account scenario. You see that I have an X account, Kanan has a Y account. Kanan from the Y account wants to upload the files on X account. Will it be possible? Yes, it will be possible. So Kanan EC2 machine wants to communicate with the S3 bucket of cross account. And how it is possible? You click on added trust relationship, and on this you will have to give an account. Sorry, over here you will say STS assume role, like Kanan can assume the role. But instead of service, I will write AWS, and over here I will write an root account ID of Kanan. So what will happen? Kanan's account ID will be able to, I have to give a complete resource ARN, right? I have to give a complete resource ARN. That means I have to give a complete ARN of Kanan. Like of on users, you will have a ARN. Okay, so just hold on. You click on any of the users, you have that ARN, and then you have a user and then account. So if it's a root user, if Kanan's Y account is a root user and wants to cross account, okay, wants to communicate the cross account services, what I will do is I will just copy the ARN of Kanan's. I'll write ARN AWS IAM and some similar stuff. This account ID will be different, and instead of a user I will write root. Okay, so what will happen? Kanan's root account will be able to come and assume the role which I have created. Okay, so the role which you have created will be able to assume, like, roles are very important. As I said, they communicate with the service. Okay, so trust relationship is again a very important factor, because it decides that who all can assume your role. Sorry. So if it's Kanan who can assume your role, Kanan will be able to assume the role and will be able to perform the actions. What actions will be performed will be derived inside the policy which has been attached to that particular role. Okay, so that is about roles. All right, so you have trust relationships where you give a federated, you can add it a trust relationship and can add multiple account IDs, which can come cross account, can assume your role, and whatever action the role has been allowed to will be able to perform. Does this make sense? Do you have any questions on this?
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Guys, you have to, if you're going to work on security, you have to carefully and precisely very much look into these terms, because these are going to be used in your day-to-day life. Very oftenly you are going to use them from the point of security, because there might be situation where you fall into, where you have to go and cross account, you have to assume the role on your child accounts and perform actions. Let's say you wanted to remediate something, you wanted to track something, you wanted to bring logs from different account to one account. So such type of actions you will be performing in your security role. And at that time, you definitely need to know the properties of roles. You need to know the properties of users, policies. Okay, we cannot, if Kanan has to perform something on my account, I'm not going to create a different user for Kanan and saying that, hey, I have created a user for you, you do whatever actions you want. No, I'm going to give a Kanan a role saying that, okay, this particular role have a particular actions. Assume this and perform your actions. Okay. So instead of why would I take a headache of maintaining the users? Okay, I'm going to create rules and give an assume policy to Kanan's account. So you have a service, your service wants to communicate with my service. Okay, take my role, assume it. I'll just add it my trust relationship policy, and you will be able to assume that. And whatever actions I have been attached into a policy with that particular role, you will be able to perform that role. Does this example explains what the purpose of roles can be?
Yes, Vasan. Yeah. If
Okay.
others have any doubt, please ask Vasan right now.
Sure, sure. So roles, users, policies, organization activity, service control policy. Then you have identity providers. Over here, there's an identity provider. Identity provider is basically, when you have a list of, okay, maybe let's say you are using an Okta or any other SAML vendor where you are maintaining your direct so on. But there in your Active Directory, sorry, which are there in your Active Directory or in your Okta directory, you want all of them, um, to come to come into an as a user into an AWS account, or to act as a federated user into an AWS account of your master. Then what you can do is you can create provider, and in the create provider you just need an SAML document which federated Active Directory users or Active Directory administrator or your Okta administrator can provide you that. You just need that access, and once you have that document, then you will be able to create providers. So providers are basically identity providers can manage identities outside of AWS. Okay. Okay. So give me a moment, guys. I'm getting a call. It's sorry, guys. It was an important call. Um, cool. So yeah, what's the we were talking about identity provider. So identity provider, it's basically we manage user entities outside of AWS. You can use think of using identity. You can use IAM identity provider instead of creating IAM users in your AWS account, right? So you can manage your user entities outside of AWS and give these external user entities permission to use your AWS resources in your account. This is very useful if your organization already has its own identity system, such as user Active Directory. So it is also very useful if you are creating a mobile app or web app that requires access to AWS resources. So for that time, we use identity access. We use an identity provider. So we can create an identity provider, but when you click on create identity provider, we actually need what you want. You want an SML, so you need a document to be uploaded, and sorry, and that particular document when you upload it, it's gonna take you know completely your identity information from that SAML provider. So if you have an Active Directory or OpenID Connect, you can connect with that and can allow your users to federatedly come in and access the resources. You can decide which users will be coming as a federated login and will be able to access the thing. So you don't have to create users manually. All things will be managed when you have a different identity apart from AWS. Okay. All right. Then you have a credentials report. Credentials report is basically nothing but when you download that, it will gonna give you all the credentials which has been created from your root account to this users, and also whatever uh, users and whatever accounts has been created, you can download the report of them, and that's what credential reports are. Then on the access analyzer, there's a new service which has been recently introduced, which, hold on. So it's a new service, access analyzer, which is basically hold on, let it come. Yeah, it's actually monitored to the resources and give you an analyze and active findings and can take actions on the basis of that. So it will access analyzer finds a policy that allows access to resources from outside of your trust zone, and it generates active finding as well, and you can take actions on this. So it's completely an engineering tool. You have to engineer it. You can analyze, you can create an analyzer, you can set up the scope of the analyzer to the organization or an AWS account, where you can say that these type of set of actions are not allowed, or give me a list of users who are doing such type of actions. And if these actions are being taken by the set of users, then perform and then do this, okay, then do reflect that, then do this. So that's what analyzer is basically for. So it's a new service which monitors access to the resources and what actions has been created. Do you have any administrator account? How many administrator account you have? And are you using a proper compliance rotation keys or so? So that's going to be completely you know been created, and kind of scan, you can think of, it's a kind of scanner which scans your all accounts and gives you the list of the accounts which are not into or following up the compliance. Okay, so that's identity and access management, guys, over here. I'll wait again over here to for your questions if you have any.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Related to the topics which has been on the screen on identity and access management.
Hi, Vasant. I was just curious whether the users allowed via identity providers, do they have all the? Can we apply all the policies, or is there any constraints to the? You know, are there any constraints on the policies that can be applied to uh, users via identity providers?
So you mean that can we allow all the accessibility? We can provide all the accessibility to identity provider, right? All the
I mean,
policies.
yeah, can we apply all the same policies which we apply via when we create through AWS?
Yeah, you can apply, right? You can apply the actions to the identity providers. Yes. Okay. All right, so no further questions on this?
I have a question, Vasant. See, identity
Yes.
provider means he can access to AWS resources without being a user. Correct?
Yes, yes, actually he will be a user, but the user information will AWS is going to take it from your identity provider, like from your Active Directory. It's going to take the information from your Active Directory, that does that user exist or not, and if that user exists, then what actions on the AWS resources will be completely taken by the policies which we will attach when we'll create the provider.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that question. Cool. So when we create a provider, Lata, we choose two things on this: SAML and OpenID Connect. So if you are on SAML, then you have to give your, even on the OpenID, you have to give that SAML document right over here, which you can ask from the administrative team. Hey, give me an SAML, which is a single sign-on. SAML is a language, and that allows a single sign-on, and then they will give you a list of that document, so you will be able to verify the user on the Active Directory. But the actions, you would be like on the next step when you go, if we have a SAML document, when we go on a next step, there we'll attach a policy that these are the set of actions these users can perform.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. See, this is very important if even you're working as a security operation engineer in cloud. IAM plays a very important role. And even if you are a pen tester, then IAM also plays a very important role. We'll see that, okay? I'll give you a lab on pen test of this, so you can know what is what will happen if you lose your credentials of users, or if you lose your access key and secret key. So guys, what we have to do next is we have to do a lab on IAM. So let me explain you a scenario, what you have to do. You guys have to do it. But I don't think you guys will be able to do it because you don't have AWS CLI. Now that's kind of something. So see, no one is able to download AWS CLI, right? Everyone has that issue because of the laptop which you own, which you hold on, right? Or and do anyone was able to have an access of AWS CLI, or was able to download and install AWS CLI? A yes or a no will help me out, or any reaction you can write. Yeah.
I have AWS CLI.
So you're using your personal. You're using your personal
I
laptop.
don't have AWS CLI. I have my Kali machine and everything.
Okay. So it's do we have a good strength who have an AWS CLI, or we don't have a good strength? So just whoever have a AWS CLI in the laptop, can you guys ping me on chat box like that you have, so that I can count the number. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Ankit, Ronak, Vivek, Krishnan, Venkay. Lohit, you guys are from the Pentest team?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you have that.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay. Apart from 6 guys, no one has it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I've shared a secret key and access key on the chat box with every one of you. Okay, so let's say from a pentest team, who is the senior most guy? Like, who is the manager? Do we have a manager in the team? Do we have a lead in the team? Do we have senior pentester? First of all, do you guys work all together in one location, or it's a different location?
No, it's different location.
Okay.
In Bangalore, but everyone is working from home, so everyone is at different places.
Mhm. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take randomly from you guys. Um, I like Venki. Venki, I like your name. So, Venki, I have shared a access key and secret key, and you being a pen tester, right? What do you think? What you can do with that?
With that, let me think about it. Maybe with some random keys, random key generator, we
What
can
this is
try.
a Okay, so I have an access key and secret key on the chat box, guys. If you are able to perform anything, do it.
Yeah, so we can use that keys and we can configure our AWS client, and whichever we have created in the buckets, and we can list out if we have permissions to the key, and if we have any copy upload also, if we have, and if any website is also stored like S3 buckets and all, so there we can do. And if there any sensitive data or anything in the current that access key, then using that access key and security key, we can retrieve that and we can download the data from that buckets if it is accessible, if it is created inside that. So this can we can do.
Okay. So do you have an AWS CLI for doing that, or do you use what tool you use, Jayanti, for doing that?
AWS client only. We have downloaded morning, right? So we're using that tool itself.
Not everyone have it, right? I think not
Means
everyone have it. Like you have it, but not all the participants were able to download because they say that it's been asking for an administrative uh, access.
uh,
So anyone you guys can do. Let me know if you can exploit. I have a services running on the cloud. I made them intentionally public. I have given you an access key and secret key. I will let your team to exploit the much you can. After 5 minutes, if you give me a response that you are able to grab something from this, do let me know. We would be love to walk you through. We would be love to see you walk us through with what you did. And if not, then I'm gonna take over and we'll walk you through what I did.
You can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see your screen. So, oh, you're using PackU framework. Great. You know the spec.
I'm using for the first time. I don't know what to do after this. I was
Okay,
searching for the module, which modules to run. So.
Okay. You have to run an enumerate module in PACU in order to see what all actions has been allowed to this particular the user access key and secret key which has been given.
Okay. But if you want to go through manual using AWS CLI, I can add here.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.